TalkGA, back with the crew. It's gonna be fun.
Watch, I don't mess up the intro this time.
It's okay. Okay, we just gonna have fun.
It's gonna be great.
Oh boy, bloopers.
Bloopers.
No, I'm serious. I'm not gonna mess up.
Oh boy, give me
good.
bloopers.
Hi everyone. Welcome to TalkGA, our podcast on everything and anything Grand Archive. I'm your host, Mark from Solar Games, and today joining me are our co-hosts, Eva
Hello.
and Fome.
What up? What up?
Woo, no mistakes.
I told you.
One take Mark.
I told you.
That's
One
what we
take
call
Mark.
him.
I'm always in there.
Always said that.
All right, so we haven't done an episode for a long time. Apologies to all of our fans. I know you guys, we love you too, okay? So we really want to do the show, but just a lot of scheduling different things and worlds. Everyone's really busy, but I kind of want to know.
Things.
Yeah,
work.
health things. Oh my gosh.
It's been
I'm still struggling through health things, to be fair.
Yeah.
But we're here.
We're
That's
back.
important.
We're back. We're still playing GA.
Yes.
Just kind of curious. How's everyone doing this week? Fome, you're first.
Doing awesome. I went to 3 events this week. That's like
3 events?
that's 3 times more than I normally go to because I normally only go to the event that I run.
He 3-0'd at locals.
Not at his own event, right?
Not at my own event. At my own event, I never 3-0. Oh wait, no,
You literally 3-0'd at your own event this
I
week.
did 3-0 at my
Oh my god. Well,
Did you also give yourself all the packs too?
I didn't take store credit.
he didn't take score credit.
Well, where did the store credit go? Did it just poof?
Yeah, that's okay. I run the event, so
Went back to the store. Got it. Eva, how you doing?
I'm good. Been busy. Still playing GA. Also went to 3 events this week.
you made GA content also.
Yeah.
Like
How's
Been
J content
happening.
making?
That's been happening. I'm now working on my very late MRC keywords video.
but that Sylvie recollection video was fire.
It's really
Thank
good.
you.
One
Really
of the
good.
best GA videos, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the audience agrees as well.
So I was given the awesome opportunity. Weebs of the Shore, the company behind Grand Archive, commissioned me to make that video and sent me the box before the set came out, so I got to see the cards early, which makes it extra humiliating when I lose against Slime Sylvie at locals. I'm like, I knew this deck before you did, and it's strong.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, actually.
There's a lot of good. I mean, the fact that the cards in there there's some really, really uniquely good cards. Yeah.
It's
anyways.
nutty.
Yeah. Talking
agreed.
about cards that traumatize you. Storm Slime.
Storm Slime.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like Rye all over again.
All the cards feed into each other. They
Yeah.
all do. Like it's one giant loop
Yep.
that is Sylvie. It's
Yep.
insane. Yeah.
It's in the graveyard. You're not safe. It's in the banish. You're not safe.
Yep.
What do you do?
Yeah. It's in the graveyard. It may be in play soon.
Yep.
King Slime.
Yep.
It's all sorts of cool stuff. Cool. Yeah. And I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Sorry for laughing so loud.
How are you doing, Mark?
How are you doing,
I'm
Mark?
I'm doing great. Yeah, just really busy. It's actually for me mostly. I think it was Bird was on the Worlds or no, it's Taipei the video, the live stream. We were chatting. He's like, oh, so like, how come you're not playing at Taipei? I'm like, literally shipping cards so other people can play GA. Like literally I was shipping cards as I'm watching Ascent Taipei. Also actually editing Ascent Taipei because I was trimming the videos down. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like gigantic 11-hour videos where I have to kind of like figure out where to scroll to for the next game because there's intermission, whatever in between. So I decided just to cut the video. So I made a bunch of like a giant playlist for Ascent Taipei.
Oh, wow.
It should be done by maybe tomorrow. All the videos uploaded, I just need to retitle them, and there's a giant playlist so you guys can go through all of it. Anyways, as of literally we were about to record this episode, and BNR announcement drops. So we're like, okay, we gotta cover it. What's going on?
Yeah.
So Sean, tell us what happened.
Yeah. The best thing happened because Korhazi Outlook has now been moved to Category 1, deservedly, because that card is so toxic. Oh my god.
Okay, what does it do?
Oh my god.
All right, so if you guys haven't been Korhazi Outlook, it's a 2 reserve cost ally. It gives you a prep on enter, but that's not the important part. The important part is you can activate its ability, which says your opponent can't do anything this turn, and then you can glimpse one. That part basically doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Tristan or Xander players would put this card down, and then the turn that they're going to kill you, they activate this, and then you just sit there and watch them kill you.
Yeah. You actually made it like a tap motion as you did it. That doesn't require tap.
Oh, it doesn't require.
By the way.
It doesn't even
Just
require.
just remove. You can do it. Yeah.
Just remove a prep counter.
Resting.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this card is
Now,
insane.
to be clear, so for everyone who's obviously listening and not looking at the card itself, this you can only activate it on your turn. So this is not like stifling other people's turns. So Yes, but it does force weird things like you have to do your like Resolute Stand now.
Dude,
right? It forces certain cards out
Vanish
that
from
must.
sites do nothing. Okay, because the opponent will activate this ability in response to their own materialization, which is their turn. You can't play anything yet at that. You can't play Vanish from sight. If you had some other thing that could do it, yeah, you could play at that point. But if you're holding up for Vanish from sight, at that point you can do nothing.
Yep.
You're just dead.
Yep.
Because Vanish from sight can only be played during your opponent's recollection phase.
Yes, Vanish from
which
sight.
is after.
Yeah,
afterwards.
it gives you stealth, but you can only play it during your opponent's recollection phase. So if they activate Korhasia Outlook in response to their own materialization, you cannot activate Vanish from sight.
Yeah. We, the water players, are very upset over that.
Yeah, let us interact.
Let us do stuff.
You
Let
can
us
just go
respond.
another turn. What's the problem? Water just says, hey, like, well, this game that you want to end in 4, let's talk about that. Maybe 20 turns? Sounds fair?
Yeah, anyway, so that's on category 1 now.
Cool.
And there's another change, which is Freezing Hail and Varric are now off the ban list entirely. So they were
Watch list.
The watch list. They were on category 1 before, and now they're completely off. I think that's perfectly understandable. I don't think anybody was abusing these cards at all. I don't even know anyone that plays Varric, honestly.
Yeah, there was a shell long time ago that could run Varric.
So Varric is the domain that says fire sources that you control. The damage can't be prevented. But it has a really bad downside, which is you can't materialize, and if you do, you have to sacrifice it.
Yep, that's right.
So the only way you could use it would be like the turn you're gonna kill them, you play it, and now they can't. If they were holding up Resolute Stand or something like that, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But still, nobody really plays this.
I actually think some people might be sleeping on it. I'll cover it a little bit later. So remind me about Varuk.
Yeah, if you can make this deck work, more power
I'm actually
to you.
thinking about adding it to the current deck I'm running. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Raid a realm, Varuk.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary, but yeah. So let's talk about Worlds. Worlds happened a month ago, right? So it
feels like it just happened
Recently.
last week, but
crazy.
it's already been.
We're so busy. This is what happens. Yeah. But I think it's really amazing that we had like a great anniversary celebration for Grand Archive. Tons of players showed up. I mean, there was a lot of people, and the cosplay was pretty insane.
Oh, cosplay
yeah,
was
that's
Cosplay
cool.
was insane. And I'm really happy that this time, like unlike previous giant events like this, the cosplay was rewarded, right? Like you get promos for cosplaying, you win prizing for like being different categories being judged.
And our friend
That's really
Connie
cool.
won.
Yes.
Yeah,
Connie won the medal, the beautiful medal with Lorraine doing a heart.
Yeah, Connie had a really amazing Dahlia cosplay.
Yeah.
So cool. Our other friend Luke was in a Rai cosplay. It was like with all the cool props, like the book and the staff.
Yeah.
It was just amazing.
I heard all of that is like handcrafted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. That's it's a lot of time, dedication. Of course, at Worlds we had our World Championship, right, for the top 16 players. But there was also the 3v3 event.
Path of Steel was a really interesting format. 3v3 team format. And yeah, a bunch of our friends all participated in that.
Yeah, or people who scrubbed out too.
Yeah,
that worked out really well.
Yeah, that's right. We had some people that were part of this top 16 invitational for World Championships, and I guess people that may have not been able to make the second day were still able to make it into the Path of Steel team event.
Yes.
And some of our friends actually did really quite well on that.
Quite well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. What are your overall experiences about Worlds?
I mean, I didn't really get to participate in the event because I was kind of working on the stream with Shinja, and honestly, that was just a really great privilege to get to do that. It's like such a great opportunity to kind of see how events like this work, and to kind of have that mentorship from Shinja. This guy like works super hard, put on I think it's like a really, really professional level stream, and to be able to help with that, I think was just a really great opportunity.
Yeah.
I was with like the players in the feature match table room, so like with the cameras there, and just directing the players from there. And then we were beaming that stream to a central control hub that Shinja was controlling there, who was then interacting with all the casters and then looking up cards and deciding what scenes to put on for the viewers.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool setup. One of the coolest things about this production was they had player interviews.
Yeah.
Like Priya Eva knows all
crazy.
about these, because Eva actually edited the player interviews. Thanks for that.
All night till 8 a.m.
I thought you were not going to be at Worlds, and then you
yes.
showed up.
That's right. That's
and
right.
then what I visually see is you're like walking around taking pictures of everybody, right? The Eva thing, you know, like cameras. But then I hear about like a bunch of editing things you're doing in the background. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I think it did make the viewing experience much better.
Yeah,
to have
that's
those
awesome.
interviews and have them edited. There were some funny interviews.
Yeah, those were really cool. Like Shinja,
fun,
like
they were
really knew what questions to ask them. It was like a fantastic idea because you don't want to go the viewers to watch the stream and like not know who anyone is.
Yeah,
I love the idea.
Yeah, so you're building a narrative for them to follow,
Yes.
a hero for them to root for.
Yeah.
Shinja like spent the first day just shooting all those interviews.
Yep.
Eva spent all night editing the interviews, and then Shinja would like pick and choose pieces to like interject into the stream whenever it was appropriate. If like a certain match comes on, oh well, we should put on like what's that player's motivation and who does he look up to, or if the person that he said is like his personal rival is that match, we got to play that part on the stream so like people understand that. It made for some very hype moments.
Yes, I agree.
Speaking of hype moments, Mr. Hype Caster, how did that go?
Casting was really intense. First of all, got to know matchups going into the play because we didn't know who was going to cast. Like we knew the order, but we didn't know who was going to be on which game, right? The other part of it too was also like this, what I learned is I work differently with different people. Like me casting with once is not the same as me casting with like Cam and, like etc. So a lot of that was learned kind of on the spot. Like you kind of go into a little bit and you start realizing. But we got through it. I thought it was really exciting. I think having the break was really great because it did also allow me to play Silver. So,
yes, we all did Path of Silver in a hotel room.
It was
together.
Oh yeah,
it
you
was
were very intense on that.
crazy.
Yeah.
That
insane.
was fun.
Big brain, yeah. I have a strategy, I think, that we can get, like, we can Norcal sweep next time.
Oh?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I have some ideas.
Okay, stop talking. Stop talking.
Oh,
but
cut, we gotta cut this, right?
Cut this?
Yeah,
This is like all the secrets.
We can't leak this.
Last but not least, speaking of NorCal, man, what a great showing by NorCal, right? In every single category,
yes,
right?
yes.
Obviously, we talked about cosplay already. Silver, Path of Silver, tons of NorCal
Yeah, Lee was
tops.
Did really
Lee, Connie,
Second place.
right?
Yep.
And then myself, I guess, but part of the team, team.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then in 3v3, like Christian was part of one team that's I think top A, right? And then Justin's team.
Justin.
Did he
Krim,
top 8 or
Peter.
did he like?
Oh,
it's like
no.
close, right? They're like almost made top 8.
Oh, I think it was top 4 all get Sabrinas.
Yeah.
And then they were number
Like
6.
7 or
They were number
something.
6.
Man, it sucks.
Oh.
But number
So-
6 is still pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's still
right?
good, but no
So,
Sabrina. They had
yeah.
to buy. Peter had to buy his Sabrina.
Of course, Sean and Christian
Yeah.
are both were in world championships. Congrats to them. That's a huge
Amazing.
achievement.
Huge achievement. Yeah.
And
It's. I mean, just so people like who, if you guys are like, I mean, obviously our show, we have a lot of people who are GA fans that they know how this works. But for those of you who may not know, being playing in the top 16 is actually really hard. You have to like top 4 like a really big event, right? And to even play in that big event, you have to have an invite from another big event that you probably topped like 4 or top 32.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like you have to basically go through the guillotine 3 times to even show up to Worlds. And then there's top 16 players from across the world. So every game is like the final match of every single one of those events.
yeah, probably they're all like the toughest matches you would have
That's
at
right.
any locals.
And then on top of that, the way that we did World this year was you could switch decks. So players had to go figure out like what is my day 1 deck? What's my like day 2 deck? How do I like psych people out? Now there were not a lot of switches. We were surprised by like how little people actually switched between day 1 and day
Right.
2.
Yeah.
But the fact that you had to think about it and consider maybe your opponent would do the same made it also even more challenging for the world competitors.
For sure.
For that, yeah. But great showing by Christian and Sean. Christian, of course, like didn't make it to day 2, but
He was still,
did pretty well for day 1 actually.
player.
Yeah.
So super proud of him. And he was the North American national champion.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is,
Amazing.
again, like it's you're playing against the best players across the world. You're not going to win every game, right? It's not
for
guaranteed that you're always going to be the best or you're going to win every single game. There's still RNG, right? And then of course Sean like made it to the finals. I think the entire room was rooting for the final match, right? Everyone had their like favorites, whatever.
Everyone was invested in the match.
But I mean, put it that way. Like, if you just want to split the room in half, like half of the world was rooting for Sean or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're in America, so like,
we got it. Yeah,
Sean is the American player. Sean was playing against Glenn, who is from New Zealand.
Glenny boy.
Glenny
Glenny
boy.
boy.
He was an
awesome.
incredible player as well, and it was really a nail-biting best of 5 actually.
Yeah.
So the finals was the only game that was best of 5.
Yeah.
And actually, Glenn won it all in the end.
Yeah.
And I think
It's crazy.
all the New Zealand and Australians were there, went insane.
It's a true, it's true Cinderella story.
Yeah.
Because there's also like other behind the scenes shit, right? Like, so day one, Thursday night, we were at dinner with Lime, Glenny Boy, once a bunch of other casters, a bunch of the players, and then I've never met Glenn in my life. I sit next to him, just like circumstantially, right? Not intentionally, and I'm chatting with him, and most soft-spoken person, super nice.
He's
right?
so sweet.
And the whole table, you know what the whole table was ragging him on? Him selling his Lorraine CUR too cheap or something. They're just making fun of him. And then I guess like, and Glenn was, I think Glenn was like, kind of like, oh, I'll have fun for this event. Like there wasn't like, and I would just say this because I know Lime pretty well. Lime was like, yeah, man, feeling pretty good about this event. Like it's Lime, right? And then Glenn just in there like not saying much about the event. That's why I mean, had he been like, yeah, I'm going to take it all as well. Yeah, I see you in the finals, Lime, like, or something, right? Then I would know. But yeah, he was very soft spoken and then
So humble.
surprised everybody, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah. Even when he won and he like did the walk and with the ring, whatever, I think he was like, wait, I'm here.
He was in disbelief.
I'm here, guys.
And also Glenn was coming back from like a pretty emotional moment when he, made just like anybody in a situation like he was. There was like a misplay with like a failure to maintain game state that actually resulted in being given a game loss.
Yeah.
And that was devastating for him. And to be able to come back from that and not only finish that match, but then win the whole thing, I think is just an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah. And the fact that he's playing Merlin, I mean, I think going into this meta, everybody was like, yeah. I mean, you watch top 16. I think he was maybe one of two players playing Merlin, and then literally running it through. And then maybe, like at least I feel this way, really going to a really unfavored matchup against Sean. Right? And there were a lot of like gates that he cleared, Glenny Boy cleared along the way to get to the finals, to get to like world champion. And he did it. It was really impressive. I mean, if you're, aspiring Grand Archive player out there, like play your deck, play your favorite deck, play whatever that is that you like. Don't let the meta tell you like, you got to play this one champion, whatever, just play whatever you like and then have fun. And then maybe one day you'll be world champion too.
What's incredible is that at one point, day one, Glenn was 1-3. He won one game, lost 3 games, and then proceeded to win the next 3 games to get into the top cut.
Yeah, he barely made.
What
the
a comeback!
Second day. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about
That's right.
this.
His seeding was pretty low on day 2.
Yeah,
he barely made it. Yeah. I want to give everyone a quick market update in the new section we're going to call Cornering the Market.
The mark.
Cornering the market.
Yeah,
okay.
Get it?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know, but like every GA product effectively right now is like sold out. I'm trying to I have a pretty sizable shipment of MRC coming in, mostly just for like the patrons of my channel and also like for locals here. So we can at least rehydrate the Bay Area market because I know there's a lot of people here who need cards right now. Like, the thing is, the funny thing is to help other people play, I now don't have a play set for MRC. So I can't play Tristan. I can't play. There's a lot of decks I can't play right now. So I'm in this weird state.
But thank you.
So, I mean, I know you're helping supply our local area, but, I mean, what are the players gonna do if they can't buy product? I think Alter needs to come out because GA is, I think we all agree is getting way more popular than where it was, 2 sets ago.
Yep.
When FTC came out, there was a glut of product. Nobody wanted it. But now, everything's gone.
Dude, even FTC is kind of sold out.
Really?
Do you know what a case of FTC is right now?
No.
So at the low, FTC I saw was like $650, right? 625 like was all over the marketplace on Discord. FTC cases are like $800, $900 now.
Wow, so that's going back up.
It's going back up.
Yeah.
And I talked to this distributor a couple days ago. No more FTC, no more DOA, no more ALC, no more MRC. And this is the problem. We're actually it's a confidence issue, right? Distributors don't want to also hold product just like stores don't want to hold product. So basically what happened was everyone kind of dumped all the products And they exist somewhere, right? I bought a bunch of ALC when nobody believed in it, and now they're $135 each, right? And it's like, do I even want to sell that price if there's literally nobody who has this product, right? Literally nobody.
So we need Alter. We really need that next printing of product to come out. I mean, when like Academy Guide is like $70, and Carter, which is like a card that was only in one deck, is like $65.
It's ridiculous.
I think. I mean, these single prices are getting out of hand.
Yeah, that issue though, I think is more around the drop rate. So like, why is Shadow's Claw like $75? The reason is because it's a ultra rare, but the drop rate for Regalias have been drastically reduced in MRC. Like everybody who's opening boxes can feel this way. You are now much easier, like much more likely to, for example, get 3 to 4 Overlord Mach 2s than to get 1 Shadow Claw. Remember the joke in NorCal from ALC? We got all the Mage Bane Lashes.
All the Mage Bane Lashes.
Right. I think we still did get all the Mage. Like,
right, but
I
I'm
have
just saying
4 Mage Bane
not
Lashes.
We didn't even open that much.
By the way, did you know Mage Bane Lashes is like a $20 card now?
Jesus.
Like
Nico's getting better.
I mean, also ALC is $135, so every card in that set has to go up. Dahlia is $20 now.
Why is Dahlia so expensive?
so
Who's playing Dahlia?
Water's good.
Who's playing Dahlia?
Water's good.
Other than...
Or maybe people were specking on what the next deck is, right? So
Sure.
there's cards like Dahlia has a lot of potential. So everyone, the thing I like to see that I thought was really cool out of this market update is all the Divine Relics are getting respect, right? Like, Quicksilver is up to like $30, $35 now. GCR holding steady at 50. But now with DOA selling out, man, GCR is going to have to go up too. It's going to be like a $75 card probably. Yeah. And then, of course, Temporal is like $50.
Yeah,
so you're right,
expensive.
Dan. Dan was right. Dan at Worlds was like, Mark, you should just buy all the Temporals.
Main deck Dan has been always very high on Temporals.
This card is not $10. Yeah. So Dan, I hope you have like the Temporal stock. This is like Tesla / plus Nvidia on one.
What the?
All right. Anyway, it's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. Yeah. Means the game is popular. Means the stores are making a lot of money off of the product. But players need more singles. They need the prices to come down.
And I think that the market will adjust, right? So like, there's a video I have not released yet, but it's on this topic. The market will always adjust slower than sentiment. So right now you're seeing the sentiment is we need more cards, right? And the market is kind of adjusting. Like, what I'm doing organically is adjusting for the market. But like just hang tight. Like if you need the cards, obviously buy the singles, whatever. But otherwise, it's going to come down. And like you said too, the comment about stores. The thing that people don't think about a lot is, who runs events, who hosts like locals, stores. So it's kind of good that the stores like are making money because that means they're more willing to support the game.
Of course, yeah.
Right? If the game doesn't support or is not making money for them, guess what happens? They don't run events anymore. And then there is no Grand Archive. So just think about it that way a little bit. Next time you're like, oh, this store's like ripping me off because this card's good. They did also sell you FTC when it was really, really low, and they sold it really cheap, right? A lot of stores I remember dumped them pretty cheap. So think about that.
It's not easy to be an LGS.
Yeah, you gotta take the highs and the lows together, even it out, not just be like, Anyways, so speaking of MRC, right? MRC obviously triggered this whole market buyout type of thing. I'm actually just really curious about what your thoughts on the new set are. Like have you adjusted your decks for MRC with MRC? We'll start with you, Fome.
MRC is awesome.
Okay.
Some exciting
Are you
stuff.
still on Fogxander? Is that what you're doing?
I did make a new version of Fogxander, but that's not my main deck currently. It's not my MRC deck.
It's not what he got 3-0 with.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm now playing what I call Slice and Erendite.
Slice and Erendite.
So how would you like to Erendite somebody for 27 damage?
Oh no.
Well, you love that shit. You love that big damage shit.
I do like that. Yeah, it's true.
So I'm running Xander, but then you switch to Mordred, and then you banish all your attacks that you've put in there through like Icebound Slam.
Yeah.
Get an Erendite, and then you slice and dice them with it.
Crazy. Okay.
You can give easily over 20 damage.
Wow.
It takes a lot of setup though. Actually, I'm exaggerating. I've done the over 20 damage maybe one time.
Yeah.
But it still is really fun.
So you're telling me this dies to Silent Frost?
Yeah, I mean, it dies to a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's fun.
It is a lot of fun, yes.
Eva, any updates to Water Lorraine?
Yes, as usual, I am boring and only play one deck and have only played one deck since the start of Grand
One deck Eva.
Archive.
Let's
One
go.
deck Eva is it.
Love the commitment.
Yep. Hey, you're gonna get really good at it.
No, because I keep doing like experimental stupid shit that doesn't work.
That's how you get better.
No, that's not. It's
Dahlia
actually,
and a Lorraine deck. Let's
I
go.
did try Dahlia for like a week and it did not work. And then I was like, what if I tried playing a level 3 deck? Because this deck does run Crux cards without Dungeon Guide. So I tried that for a few weeks and Dungeon Guide is back in the deck.
Yeah, everybody's like, why are you not running Dungeon Guides?
I just wanted to try and like
I respect it.
Okay, I hate this game of like, should I level up now? But what if I level up and then the next thing I draw is Dungeon Guide? Then I'll feel like so tilted, and which always still happens.
Yep, I saw you do that, dude. Leveled up with your
Thanks.
floating memory
Thank
and then
you.
draw Dungeon
Thanks.
Guides.
Does your deck have a lot of floating generators now? Is that why you were thinking like, I don't need the Dungeon Guide?
I tried Fractal of Rain, which is from MRC.
Oh, that card's insane.
That's the card where you imbue 2 water cards, and then every turn on your recollection phase, you can choose a player to mill 1 card or put 1 card from your deck into the graveyard.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an insane engine.
It's good, but I think it doesn't synergize well enough with my deck, so that's also out now.
Yeah,
we're still tweaking.
Fractal Rain should be banned.
What? All it does is mill
Every
one card.
water
It mills 1 card.
Okay, you've not seen one.
I can see the argument for banning it.
Really, why?
It's creative shock without playing it. Once you play it once, you're good to go. You're creative shocking every time.
Like every
It's
game
kinda
is
insane.
I want to see multiple Fractal Rain in my opening hand, and then after that I'm set.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard to lose after that. because
Really?
Like if you built your deck to have a lot of floating memory, it's like going +1 every turn. And
For free. No,
and
it's actually +1, and then I don't know how you count memory cost, but it's plus another one because you pay. It's a fractal.
Yeah, well,
too.
the fractal itself is as if you never lost a card from your hand.
That's
so
nice.
like
That part's
basically,
nice.
it's a free thing that says you get to put stuff from your library from your main deck into your grave every turn. So yeah, I agree that card is crazy.
Fractal Rain is really good.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best cards in MRC.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah. And speaking of other crazy cards that put a ton of things in your graveyard, Icebound Slam is the truth. Imagine a card that like says like imagine a card.
I don't need to
that's-
imagine. I've seen it. It's
like,
really
that's
good.
like rending your opponent.
Yeah.
And then except instead of burning your grave, putting more things into your grave.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's like rending your opponent, draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
Yeah. It's a devastating at level 0, and if you're kind of set it up correctly, you can basically get hit every single time. Right?
Yeah.
Play a water deck that only has water, you're guaranteed to hit.
It also has no class bonus.
Yeah.
So anybody can play it. So Arasana can smack you for 8 in the face.
Yeah, it costs 7 though, which is
It does
a
cost
little-
7, so it's like the only thing you can play if you're on the draw. But I mean, it's not hard to have 8 or 9 cards now because everybody has essentially 2 GCRs, GCR plus backup charger, which is now the new Regalia staple everybody's playing.
Yep.
You can pay 3, banish it, get a power cell, draw a card into memory.
Yeah.
That's the only part that matters, drawing the card into memory. So it's a free Regalia that draws, just like GCR.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you exactly, and it sounds like you're drawing into memory, and that's like a downside, but not really, because you usually players do this in like materialization phase, pre-recollection. So you then recollect it. It's drawing to your hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really, what's the
So that
difference?
card is nutty. Also.
The thing we've been doing as well is if there's nothing good to fractarize, we fractarize our own power cell. So we get a fractal and then fractarize with floating memory goes into the graveyard.
Wow.
It's great.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
Pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do now. Yeah, with like free items on the board. Yeah. Okay.
What are you playing, Mark? We didn't even talk about your deck.
I don't matter.
Oh yeah, do you even play anymore? You're just selling cards
I'm
at this
just,
point.
yeah, it's just vending. Like literally, I show up to locals and be like,
All right, who bought
"Who
this
needs
thing
Grand
from
Archive? Anybody need Grand Archive? Are you good? Hey, this deck, you need another dagger. $75.
Sharking all the players.
Yeah, actually, I just sold out. Price went up, 85 now.
Oh my god.
You want it right now? Expedite shipping.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so
He doesn't actually do that, by the way.
I tried. I give everyone really good. Like, ask the locals; they get really good deals.
Yeah, he gave us a Lorraine CUR.
I didn't give it to you. But yes, I did give it to you. It was great. Hey, I'm really glad you got it. This is insane.
Yeah, we pulled our Lorraine CUR from a box that Mark sold us.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
like
Mark.
it was 2 boxes, right? One of them had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane.
Thanks
Anyway,
for seeding our box.
seeded, bro. Like before I even knew how to do. Anyways, I like to always shift my decks. And you probably seen like this is like the 9th deck I'm on now. Like to be fair, like I don't really spend a lot of time building decks 'cause I'm not very good at it. This is Once and Love's deck from I think one of the Yeti tournaments or whatever. I looked at the list. I'm like, I've never played Fire Xander, and I remember when Sean played Fire Xander from Ascent Ontario. I really want to try the deck. So this was my chance. I saw the list. I'm like, it's very similar. So I just rebuilt the list and then took it to locals. And I did really well at Magic Deck.
Yeah, you beat me too.
And then I did decently well at VPC, except of course I lost to Christian. And guess what Christian was playing?
Nico.
Water Nico.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
You think water sucks? Yeah. Guess what card he was using? Icebound Slam, Fractal Rain. Literally, this is how I lost.
Good shit. It's also Christian, so.
I mean, as in the words of Christian, a good player can beat anybody with a ham sandwich. I think he said this about Sean. He's like, Sean can beat anybody with a ham sandwich.
Whoa.
It's kind of true.
It's kind of true. But what is the actual MRC meta now? Okay, I mean, like, Christian clobber you with Nico at locals.
Yes.
Is Nico actually like the real deal?
I think Nico is the truth. There is definitely. Yeah, I heard some, people saying like Nico is like a tier 2 deck. I think Nico is actually higher, but I think people are not being brave enough to try. Now, of course,
Taipei, there were people playing it.
There were people playing Nico, which is kind of cool, really cool, right? But of course, Ascent Taipei, like the meta is mostly like Tristan, win Tristan level 3, not any ally stuff. And then, of course, your Sylvies. So the funny thing is those two, like literally pre-con decks are kind of like the top tier now.
Yeah.
And whether it's because this is, a really nice blueprint, where it's like basically this deck by itself is already a tier 1 deck, maybe not tier 0, but it's definitely tier 1. And then some adjustments obviously were made to make the decks better. But that's by and large the meta. Of course, Ascent Taipei had its fair share of Merlins, just as usual. In that region, Merlin's your like average deck, so it's never going to be bad into almost anything. Yeah. But what I saw, what I didn't see is like Deanna's totally gone.
Yeah, so I sent Taipei. It just happened.
Yeah.
I guess it's technically like the second big tournament that's happened since MRC.
Oh, that's right.
There were some online tournaments.
Yeah, there was a Yeti tournament.
Yeah.
But what was like really surprising to me was that I think it was like something like 75% Sylvie's like at the top.
Yeah.
Like Sylvie's just like blowing out everybody. Yeah. And I think I was like, wait, so is Tristan actually bad? Was everyone just wrong about this? But no. Sen Taipei, Tristan is still like a crazy threatening deck.
Yeah.
Definitely seems like the one to beat.
Yeah, I think Cabin actually mentioned that he felt when Tristan was does not go well into the Slime Sylvie.
Oh, interesting.
Like not favored. That's at least how Cabin thought. And I don't know if it looked like when Sean was playing his Win Tristan, he did pretty well against the Sylvie player. So maybe not. I don't know. Like a lot of this, with any first big event of a set release, everyone's learning, right? So people gravitate obviously to the easier decks. Makes sense. But everyone's still kind of learning what the meta is, how that shifts now. So yeah. But I love the fact that there's like a high diversity of meta.
Oh yeah, it's insane. Top 8, 7 different decks.
Yeah. 7 different decks. That's awesome.
Everyone gets their time now. Sylvie finally being respected, and it's really cool to see that like everyone's trying different things.
And Merlin doesn't seem like to be that much of a threat anymore. No. Almost.
But I think Merlin kind of fell off around the ALC anyways. So
really, I wouldn't say that. I mean, our world champion.
I know, it's just world.
Glenny Boy is on fire. Merlin.
Yes, I agree. But in general, like the issues of Merlin is that like the things that Merlin's really good at gets countered easily by a lot of other champions. Namely, Deanna was basically the ALC meta. So that's why like a lot of, at least in North America, people don't favor Merlin. If you go late game, Deanna kills you. If you go early game, ally aggro kills you. If you're somewhere in the middle, like Jimmy's gonna slam you for 48. So you're like, and then if you ever get into the water Luxem, like you better have fireballs or else you're dead. Like there were so many decks that were like either even with Merlin or just better. So and Rye kills Merlin. Like it's just like Rye is the Merlin, but faster, right? Because they can get to that level with a fireball and not a fireball.
Yeah, Rye goes even more over the top.
Exactly. So like Merlin, again, like I said, is like the Swiss Army knife. It does everything, but the problem is the fact that it does everything. It's kind of it grinds everybody out eventually, but there's a lot of decks that can kill it either early, late, mid. So it
has
rough.
very polarized matchups. It seems like
it's rough. Again, in a good player's hand, Merlin can do a lot of things, but it is also fire, so fire is tricky, right? So yeah, that's how I think about Merlin right now. But Tristan is now the new Merlin, apparently.
Tristan is incredibly scary.
Yeah, Tristan has so many ways to kill now. You can grind people out with the clones. They can't kill you because all the clones block all the damage.
Yeah.
Right? And then you could shadow strike people. You can slice and dice them. There's so many ways a Tristan can end the game. Otherwise, it's just like maximum value too, right? And because you're playing Wind, there's a lot of things that they can just prevent the other player from doing.
Yeah,
right?
I can draw a gajillion cards.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like both good defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
I think unblockable is a crazy new mechanic.
Yeah. And actually, out of the Tristan deck, one of the cards that I'm really high on for MRC is Stifling Trap.
Fuck that card.
But that card is it just changes how the game works. So Stifling Trap is for 2. You can basically it's a fast speed assassin skill reaction. It does 2 damage to target ally, and then of course negates on enter triggered ability from that ally, so it negates it. There's a second clause. This does get played less, but if it's not your turn, you may actually remove 2 prep counters from your champion to activate this card from your memory without paying its reserve cost. Sean did do this in a match.
No, I mean it's not crazy to imagine. That's insane.
It's an option. It's an option.
Like opponent can be like cards in hand, like 0. I have no cards in hand. Oh, Stifling Trap, like because it's I play from my memory.
Right. And it's such a good reaction, right? It stops dungeon guides. It kills like storm slimes doing the storm slime thing. There's a lot of unenters like Pendragon, right?
Yep.
Just, oh hey, no, don't do it.
Frostborn Paladin.
Yeah, there's so many unenters. Stifling Trap kind of stops, and it is in the hands of the skill player to do threat analysis and identify the highest threat to use the Stifling Trap against. And that's actually really key too. Yeah, but anyways, that is I think a card that's in the Wind Tristan deck that's making that deck really, really strong, to be honest, against almost all the cards of the meta.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much control Wind has now. Wind just has
Wind is the actual control color.
Tools.
Yeah.
It feels like
Wind is the hold up cards past turn. Water's not that element. Wind is that element.
Yeah.
Wind is like always have my balance Gildas. So I need to play a 3-drop and then hold 3 at all times.
Yeah.
Right. So wind is like the most interactive element, I would say.
Well, in addition to that, Wind also has agility now.
Agility
too.
is
So like
insane.
between Sadi, between Tristan 1, you have other ways to just kind of like draw your whole hand back.
It's so synergistic.
At end step, It's very synergistic to that playstyle. I agree. Yeah.
Ban Sadie.
Yeah. People say water wants to negate your stuff with Frostbind. How are they gonna get through that with a Viridian Trinket?
Yeah.
Like we can never actually get hold up 3 and get away with it. Wind can just do whatever they want. Like this is ridiculous.
It's fair. I think it's more important that Wind is furthering that tempo plan, right? How do you actually build tempo? It's like I need small advantages and then prevent you from having like equal advantage, right? Like build a board and then maintain my board, prevent you from killing my board is kind of like the Wind plan. And with things like agility, it allows you to do that, right? With things like play something from your memory, it allows you to do that. Now, I will say 2 prep counters is very expensive, especially early game to just pay 2 prep to play out of memory.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that early on.
Yeah, it's pretty But
expensive. After they play Mastermind Scheme,
sure.
I think it costs free. Mastermind Scheme costs 6 with efficiency.
Yeah.
And then says double the amount of prep counters you have on your champion. So a lot of times they play this, they have 5 and they go to 10.
Yep.
And it gives agility.
And if at the end of your turn, if you have 8 or more prep counters, you gain agility. if you have 8 or more prep counters after this, you gain agility. Yep. So you play this, it has efficiency. So if you're level 3, it only costs 3 and then refunds itself.
Yep.
The prep counter. If you say prep counters are like a precious resource, they are not. You have unlimited prep.
Yeah, once you get to Tristan 3, I would agree with you. Early game though, it's still pretty precious. But yes, there are so many more prep counter generators now in MRC. It does make it a lot easier to kind of get there. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, if there's any saving grace, that card Mastermind Scheme is slow. It's not fast. So
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's not as broken as it could be. Like
the most broken card in MRC is. Yeah. I want to talk about Nico. So I was really surprised by Nico. It's not about the artwork. It's just about the actual effects of the card.
Got it, Mark. Got it.
A lot of people like
Noted.
Nico, and it's not because of the gameplay. Just saying.
I'm here for the gameplay.
I'm here for the gameplay.
Look, actual gentleman, a real gentleman.
Oh, here we go.
I like Nico before people saw the art.
But yeah, like I think MRC really gave Nico a bunch of tools, like Icebound Slam obviously being one, Ravishing Finale. Like honestly, what a finisher! Ravishing Finale just ends games. It's insane, right? But I think what's happened is that MRC gave Nico's the right tools, and between ALC and MRC, Nico has all the cards that she needs in her archetype to build a very, very strong deck that's both plays well offensively and defensively, right? Because Nico has a Veiling Breeze too, but not just for the board as well, right?
Oh yeah, was Hailstorm Guard or what's it called?
It's called Storm of Thorns.
Oh yeah, of course. She also has the new one, Hailstorm Guard, that like blocks all the damage and then mills that many.
Yeah.
But Storm of Thorns is definitely the one that more people play.
The shield also in that deck. There's a shield that prevents damage, prevents 1 damage. Magebane Lash. I actually didn't know this about the card, but every time Nico takes non-combat damage, she heals too.
You can't kill her with burn damage. Or like you could do it like with 1 big burn. But if you're gonna try to like keep revealing like Light Weavers to do 2, it actually just does 0.
It does 0. Yeah, there's some cards, or it's sometimes really bad where you actually heal the Nico instead. If you're doing like 1 damage, like a poke, you're actually healing. So yeah. So there's a lot of cards now in Nico's arsenal that's making Nico like very viable. In addition, remember Nico is a guardian. So Nico, even as a level 2 champion without advanced elements, does have 25 life, which makes it very viable, right, for that archetype. But you can also you can go Tristan Nico, right? You can go Lorraine and Nico. There's a lot of different things that you can go from some other champion, not necessarily a Tenoris, into Nico, and it works pretty well too. So I think Nico is something that like a lot of players are discovering. And I'm happy that there is an archetype for that too.
Yeah. Does Nico actually win by milling, or does it just hit you for a ton of damage?
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah. Mill is just putting cards in from the deck into the graveyard. But mill sometimes, like if you're a newer player, you think of mill as you're losing a card. But for most, like more advanced players, as you play the game more, mill effectively doesn't do anything. In some decks, it actually helps you because graveyard is your second resource. But when you mill too much, it is actually now a problem because you can only play 4 copies of certain cards.
Yeah.
Once you play, like milling 1 or 2 cards does not matter at all, right? Yeah. But milling half your deck, it actually matters.
Yeah, I would still say it doesn't matter too much because all your best cards could be in the second half of the deck for whatever reason. There's just as much of a chance that being the case as well. Yeah. But yeah, I think that it's very demoralizing to see all your win cons get milled.
Yeah.
And it's a secondary way. It doesn't matter until you have no more cards in your deck, and then you just lose.
How many cards are left in your deck?
Yeah.
20? Okay.
Yeah, we were watching Taipei, and whenever you see the player counting cards left in their deck.
Their opponent's playing Nico. Yeah. I'm actually kind of curious, like with MRC, how are you guys all feeling about like water? You guys are both water players right now. So how do you feel about water, state of water? We kind of talk about wind. Wind feels really good right now. Or at least we're seeing it. Wind's performing well.
Quite more than
What do you think about water after MRC? Do you feel like it's gotten better? About the same?
Fractal Rain is busted, like we said. I think water's in a pretty good place.
I think water's got some good cards, right?
Yeah.
Lost in Thought. Sorry. Lost in Thought is a really good tool for water.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Insane new card.
Yeah. What does it do, Eva?
Okay, it's a card that has floating memory.
Yeah.
Its reserve cost is X. And then it is, you may banish up to X cards with floating memory from your graveyard. Draw a card for each card banished this way.
Okay. Wow.
So X can also be 0.
Yeah.
So if you're just holding up 1 card at the end of your opponent's turn, you can just be like, I play Lost in Thought for 0. Yeah. Throw the floating memory into your graveyard. and then use it right away. Or if you have floating memory in the graveyard that you have nothing to use for materializing, you just use Lost in Thought to draw cards back. It's
This
a
actually-
really good tool.
This, now that you mention it, this actually fixes one of those things, because there's some players, right? They'll like resolute stand for nothing, just so they have cards in memory to go level up, right? This card kind of solves that problem, right? In the case of you're just mentioning, like, I just toss the Lost in Thought away, and I'll make sure I banish that one for sure, guaranteed.
Yep.
And then that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I love seeing Lost in Thought in my opening hand. Or because I also play Frostform Paladins.
Yeah.
I just Lost in Thought for 0 and then Frostform Paladin, banish the floating memory, draw a card, put a buff counter on it, easy.
Yeah,
It's so
flexible
smooth.
like that. Except when I see it in my opening hand, I never know if I should just play it and then use the level 1.
Yeah.
Because I know if I save this for late game, I can use it to draw like 5 cards.
Right, because you actually play a deck that mills a lot. So
Yeah.
you end up with tons of floating memory and you play Mordred, so all your attack cards become floating memory too.
I'm playing
You just have,
against like level 3 decks,
billion.
and then I'm like, oh, I have 12 cards and you have 7. Like,
Yeah. And it's fast speed.
Yes.
So that changes a lot of things, actually. Yeah, fast speed for 0 cost is, I mean, I guess this is the second card that's 0 other than Squirrel.
Oh my god.
Technically.
oh yeah.
There's only 2 cards in GA right now that cost 0. But like, I think Water also has other tools like Cerulean Decree. Insanely good.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah.
there's a
This guy's super high on that.
Cryptic Command in Grand Archive.
I was just gonna say there's a
yeah.
card in Magic that's like everyone knows because it's insanely good, right? It basically says, okay, that spell you want to cast, don't cast it. But okay, you see how I spent 1 card to get rid of your 1 card? Now I'm gonna draw a card instead.
Yeah.
Right? That's how it feels, and that's Cerulean Decree right now.
Yeah.
So
I kept calling it Cerulean Command for a really long time because I thought it was Cryptic Command.
yeah. So for 3 costs, Water card, it's a cleric spell. Imbue 3. So imbue is the keyword that says basically as you reserve this card, you may reveal cards. And if you reveal like 3 water, then it's imbued. Okay, so choose 1, but if Cerulean Decree is imbued, choose 2 instead. So the things that you can choose are negate up to 1 target non-attack card activation unless its controller pays 2. Up to 1 target unit gets -3 until end of turn, and draw a card into memory. So of course, the most common thing I see people doing with this is, negate target non-attack card activation unless player pays 2. Basically a Frostbind. With a little bit of differences there, and then draw a card into memory. Kind of insane.
Yeah. When I play it, I say Cryptic Counter Draw.
Yeah. I think the saving grace is, unlike Frostbind, the card that you negate isn't banished. So technically, if you negate a floating memory, they still get the floating memory. So they don't really lose the card. It's okay, but yeah, nobody actually wants to do that.
Yeah, and it's all like non-attack cards.
Yeah. I definitely threw a Creative Shock into this. It
Yes.
feels really bad. I mean, if you think throwing Creative Shock into Frostbind is bad, feels way worse doing it to Cerulean Decree.
Yeah, I go up on cards, you go down on cards.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and I go down on cards on my filter card.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what did I just do? Yeah. Always look at Water player's hand before you cast Creative Shock.
Yeah, it costs 3 though, so you have to hold up 4.
Yeah.
Not always possible.
Yeah, with Trinket, it's like you have to hold up 6.
Well, hey, Fractal Rain.
Yeah.
Just saying, right?
I'll
If you have
say-
1 Fractal
yeah.
Rain, it's just 3.
Trinket is not as devastating as it used to be
Yeah.
because it seems like you have every actually not just water but every element has more draw than before.
Yep.
Everybody's essentially playing 2 Grand Crusaders rings because they have backup charger also.
Yeah.
And then like if you have Lost in Thoughts and you use that to draw some cards, you're like have a gigantic hand half the time. So it's like I was pleasantly surprised by how consistently I could Cerulean Decree my opponents.
Yeah. There's that, and also I think like everybody, and this goes across the board, but every element, every archetype has gotten more ways to draw as well. Like, I mean, Sylvie is like a prime example, right? So the one complaint that everyone was complaining about Sylvie, why Sylvie was basically unplayable, was not because Sylvie didn't have good creatures or good spells. Sylvie didn't really need spells, but was because Sylvie could not draw as well as other decks, and now Sylvie can. Like between the cake, between the intercepting slimes, right? The library witch
Baby
slime,
Gray.
Slime,
baby gray slime, yeah. Think about ethereal slime that draws. Like there's so many cards that can get more cards in. That's allowing things like, working around things like Verdant Trinket. I have some thoughts about fire, where fire is right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it finally Fire's turn to take a back seat?
Fire is definitely taking a back seat.
Thank
look,
God.
obviously, right? There's only like if you force rank 3 elements, they're gonna have to be one that's like lower than the others, right? I definitely think fire currently is weaker. Fire is a little bit too obvious, I think, number one. So a lot of times, like you're playing fire decks, you don't really have to think about what they do. They can't really do anything to interact with your board, basically, right? Or I know there are cards that can do it, but most players don't play those cards. So it makes it kind of like you're kind of free playing against fire, whereas playing against wind and water, you have to think a lot more. Fire also has a really weird meta issue right now, I think, in that fire's idea is I do some damage to myself to do more damage to you, or I expend resources, like I burn cards from graveyard to do more damage to you, right? Rending, or like I toss cards into graveyard to do more damage to you. This kind of feeling of like you're losing something and you're gaining something, right? And fire almost has no heal other than like, innervate fury, right? That kind of stuff. But fire has no way to kind of like prolong the game. So they want to end the game quick. Unfortunately, right now though, there are so many cards out there, obviously Veiling Breeze and the older cards, but some of the newer cards too that are like really good at preventing damage now, or preventing micro damage, that like it really puts fire in this situation where if fire's all about dealing micro damage and then stacking a little bit of damage on that, like it classic case is Fire Xander, that deck is countered by like one card.
Yeah, like one Veiling or one Storm of Thorns.
Storm of Thorns.
Yeah.
You got the Safeguard Amulet. You have so many ways to just say negate the turn that you're supposed to win on. It does nothing instead, right? Or shutting down cards like Arthur, shutting down, there's a lot of things that now I think fire is in a weird spot, right? And this is why I want to talk about this topic of like element identity. I don't know where fire is and what it should be in GA, because I feel like, because I don't really want fire to be like, oh, I'm going to deal 20 damage, right?
Yeah, it's not.
I deal 19 damage to myself and deal 20 damage to you, like a double edge. Like it feels, I don't really think that's where fire should be, but this is kind of interesting from Varuk being off the category 1. I'm actually thinking, why don't more fire players, in order to prevent the prevention of damage, play more Varuks? Right? Is that the play now where you set up a Varuk and guess what? There's a lot of ways to materialize without materializing.
Like QSG.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or
Quicksilver Grail.
the Varukan Dagger, I can burn 3 fire cards and get it out of the deck. There's another the Mercenary Dagger, I can burn 1 prep counter and get it out of the deck. There's a lot of materialization maybe that like you don't actually need to materialize. Now I think that is very strong, right? To prevent materialization, but maybe all I need is 1 turn. Right? So I have Varukan, I do some minor damage to set up. Then next turn, I'm just you're dead. Like what prevention cards are you going to use now?
It's an interesting thought. Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what fire's kind of like theme is unpreventable damage, rather than like high damage, I deal damage myself, but more of this element of like, what, if I'm doing something, I'm gonna make it stick. Counter healing is another thing that fire could do. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Like my damage sticks where other damage could be healed. I don't know how you would do that, but like these are things I'm thinking of. Like maybe it's like burns.
You're proposing that fire becomes the anti-heal.
I'm just trying to think like what is the feel of fire, because I think like before I would say fire is like really good card cycling, but that's like everybody has it now.
It's still
still
like
the best.
the
Actually, no.
element of filtering through your deck really fast, consistency, always finding what you need.
Yeah.
I would say like the Fire Sylvie, like turbo into Storm Slime plan is the most consistent kill you really fast strategy.
Yeah.
But I agree with you that the fire strategy was like toss your entire hand away in 1 turn.
Win the game, right?
And then like attack for like a gajillion damage in 1 turn. There's a lot of ways to just stop it and then you're out of cards.
Yeah. It feels really bad when like your dagger turn, for example, for a Fire Xander gets turned off of 1 card, right? And it's not even a material deck card. It's turned off by a card in hand that costs 1 Veiling Breeze for, like, honestly, you can just Veiling Breeze for 1 or 2 like win cards, and you're pretty much good for that entire turn. And that does feel a little bit weird. So I wish there was maybe like, imagine there's like a 1 cost card for fire that says this turn damage can be prevented. Something like that.
1 is too cheap.
Yuck.
Sure, but like I'm just saying like something like that could be kind of interesting for fire. Maybe that's the fire.
Imagine if fire had Korhazi Outlook.
Yeah.
Just print another one of those.
And on draw, I don't actually agree that fire is good at filtering anymore, because of things like even from ALC we have Serum of Wisdom.
Serum of Wisdom,
right?
Yep.
Like it's the joke is that's the Creative Shock, but not in Fire. But now we have literally Creative Shocks not in Fire.
Retold Fortune is now like a norm colored Creative Shock that anybody can play. Although it's not as good, but it allows you to filter even if you're not Fire.
What's the one that has
No,
like Claude kneeling at the gravesite?
Oh, that's
Buried Grief?
yeah.
Buried Grief?
Buried Grief.
Yeah, I think of Buried Grief. So Buried Grief is 3 costs, slow speed, draw 2 cards, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck. That feels like a Creative Shock.
It's not. It's really not.
What's the difference?
This just you get rid of the cards you don't want, but then forces you
You
to
have to draw back. Okay, so you're just
Yeah,
saying like
you don't-
it doesn't go in the graveyard. But like me reading the card, I'm like, so you're gonna get 2 cards right now, and then put 1 card you don't need right now on top of your deck. And if you're water, there's a lot of ways to mill the top card. So like,
that's true.
you see what I'm saying? Like,
That's true.
I'm just saying like,
Yeah.
we're talking about how to create a shock not in Fire. Yes, in Fire you just play create a shock, but in other decks, this in some like
Yeah,
there's
I get your point.
right.
Before it was exclusively a Fire thing, and now there are like kind of cheap imitation versions of Creative Shock.
Yeah, and then there's that card, the one that people are using with backup charger for the power cell. You sack the power cell, draw 2 cards. Turbocharge, another draw 2 on it. Like there are ways now, I think, outside of Fire to kind of accelerate, right? The same way that Fire used to. So that's not Fire's identity anymore. Now, I don't think it should have been Fire's identity in the first place because I think because the way GA works, resource is cards. You can't lock resources to one element. That doesn't make any sense because then the other decks don't work. But we're at this weird spot where water can have resources by putting them into the graveyard very easily. Like, where's the Fire card that says, like, do this and then make sure I have another rending coming up next? There's no card like that, right? But water literally has one, Icebound Slam. If the first one doesn't land, the second one's guaranteed to land, right? Effectively, because with 10 cards, you're not gonna have 5 in graveyard. So that's where I feel like Fire is a little bit like rough right now. And I don't know what that identity is, right? And that's the thing, like win, yeah, tempo, it's pretty clear, right? Oh, you do something, you have to go way over, right? I'll Veiling Breeze, I'll Reclaim, I'll Zephyr your thing, I'll like disorient and win. There's a lot of things to like change the board state at fast speed, right? Water is like, like cards go in the graveyard.
Unlimited floating memory.
Yeah, like now, I mean, I was just kind of like, brain GAing, but I was like, wait, so if I play Merlin, I can eat a bunch of floating now. But water has so much floating, they don't even care
You
if
can't
you
eat
one.
it. You can't eat all of it.
Yeah.
Like you can raccoon. I'm like, I don't care. I have like 5 more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where like, I mean, I think in that case, then water feels really good, right? So you can feed a Merlin, you don't even care. But like, what is that for Fire right now? I don't know. And that's like Fire just, okay, we got more damage cards. We got more cards that are like, burn 1 damage to yourself, deal a little bit more damage. It's good, but it's like, it feels a little bit lacking.
Man, it's crazy to think that Fire is not.
I know, but
necessarily
like
the best.
somebody has to be on bottom, like. All right, sorry, it took a long time. New deck innovation. So we saw some cool Lorraine Gunplay.
Oh,
Tell me about
Oh.
the Lorraine Gunplay.
Lorraine, you mean Gunblade?
Gunblade?
Gunblade Lorraine? Because like Taipei, I mean, first place deck,
Yeah.
MHL was running, had Lorraine had the prototype pistol
Yes.
in the main deck Regalia, and then I think was
Wind Piercer,
Windpiercer
the bullet.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
So, and apparently this is the new tech. Every ally Lorraine deck now
Yeah.
runs guns and bullets. So throw
pretty
out
cool.
your
It's
swords.
pretty cool.
You just throw it in the trash because why would you use a gun? Why would you use a sword if you could just shoot your opponent? But it actually kind of makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, what that deck wants is it's mostly playing allies
Yeah.
and then every turn just drawing a bobble or some kind of thing to get card advantage to,
Yeah.
to keep putting down pressure.
Yeah.
But if the thing you want to draw is something to put down pressure, why not just redraw the same renewable bullet every turn and do 3 damage? And I think that prototype pistol is 3 durability, right?
Yeah, it's a 1/3 for 0.
That means if you play that, you're guaranteed for the next 3 turns, will be 4 damage per turn. And then if you level up to level 2 Lorraine, that's 6 damage. So it's you guarantee you always doing 4 damage per turn for the next 3 turns.
Yeah.
The only downside is because you didn't take a sword the turn that Lorraine becomes level 1,
Yeah.
you're not able to attack right away with Lorraine.
Yeah.
You have to wait. So you give up 1 turn of tempo for the next 3 turns, always
do
being able
more.
to attack 4.
Yeah.
Which is actually like,
Yeah.
I would make that trade. That's like if there was a card that told me like, yeah, you're gonna draw a 4 attack attack card every turn for the next 3 turns, I would take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
that's a new
Gun
tech.
Lorraine is pretty insane. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
Gun Lorraine is the truth.
Okay. All right. So one other thing I want to talk about too is so I was kind of like watching day one coverage of Ascent Taipei, and I noticed that like some of the chat in the channels like, oh, another game lost due to like game error, whatever, right? And so basically, I did notice like there were a lot of like maybe quite a bit of misplays on stream. I'm just kind of like I think round 1 there was a game loss given to like I think Creative Shock after the Serene Fire was released. But it was
that's a very common.
It's a very common mistake too. And then I think a lot of people were complaining like, oh, why are there so many misplays, whatever. Personally, right? I came out and be like, hey guys, like let's just kind of cool it a little bit on the complaining. Part of this like could just be a language barrier thing. I mean, this is literally like in a country where maybe the players who are playing don't actually read English, so they're all learning new cards, but they're all learning it and have to translate it too, and then commit it to memory because they can't read it really. They have to remember what it does, not like reread it and say, oh yeah, that's right. Obviously the game is also, I would say, like somewhat complex right now too.
It's very complex.
Yeah, like so earlier, like before this episode, I was talking about tracking. Personally, I think the game has gotten to a point where like I'm having trouble sometimes tracking everything. As a fire player, often I have to track my own graveyard, how many fire cards in graveyard. As a ride player, you track how many arcane are in your banishment. But now for almost a lot of players, you track banishment, you track material deck, you track your like graveyard. If you're playing Tristan, the one that like banishes your opponent's deck, you have to track how many of those cards are there in banishment that you could play later, right?
Yeah.
You're tracking memory, how many cards they're putting down in memory. You're tracking like what cards they have in hand. You're tracking whether agility was activated this turn or not. You're tracking imbue, whether creatures were imbued or not, because that's permanent. Once it's imbued, you get it, right? There's just a lot of these things. I think like I think for me personally, I'm watching a lot of games. I'm like, oh man, like I don't remember that card was this way. Which remember the old adage was like, which Dream Fairy was targeting which card?
Yeah.
Right? Because the card goes back in hand. We can't even like do a 1-to-1 like line up where you can say this like Snow Fairies. You can say this Snow Fairy standing in front of the card that you're like sleeping the whole time, right? There's mistakes that I've seen players play cards that Dream Fairies have already Dream Faired, and it doesn't get caught until like a couple turns later. And then how do you rewind that, right?
You can't.
Yeah.
It's complexity and tracking is one thing, but I totally agree with you. These like viewers, anyone can sit there at home, be comfy in the bathtub or something, or like on the toilet and be like, why are they misplaying? These players are so bad, or something like. Let me tell you guys, you sit in that stream chair and play for like 6 hours of rounds.
Yep.
And play a flawless game. See how well you do. Yeah. Because it's really hard.
Yeah, I've seen really good players also like make mistakes too. So I think it's very common.
A game loss is a very harsh remedy for a situation. They don't need to also be dunked on social media. Also,
yeah, I think so too.
I think they handled it very professionally.
Yeah, just a little bit of grace. Obviously, gives to our new players, but also welcoming our like players from Asia who are just maybe starting the game too. They're all learning. The game that we've all enjoyed for over a year. Right?
Oh yeah, and it's fantastic to see how popular it's getting in Asia, especially Taiwan, which is quickly becoming like an international hub
of GA.
Yeah.
Recently I went to a locals. Haven't really gone to locals other than the R store for a while, but I went to Magitech, which is a little bit south of where I normally play, and I show up. And there's like 28 people in the room. And I'm like, is everyone here for Grand Archive or is there another game going on?
28?
Yeah.
So if you count the 2 players that were kind of like leaving, there was 28. I think it was 26
was it like
or
a
28.
special event or anything? Or
No,
it's locals on a Wednesday.
Regular locals?
On a Wednesday.
My joke was I DM'd Roger after, was like, so we had a regionals at Magitech. Can you send some promos real quick?
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know, our store championship doesn't usually even get that many players.
Okay, but this season though.
Okay.
We'll get them this season.
We'll see.
And then of course I'm watching Ascent Taipei. And I'm just kind of curious how many people showed up for Ascent Taipei. 240 players. I mean, it's like 238. So I'm just rounding it up.
Lot.
240 players.
That's a lot.
Dang.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a bunch of Americans flew in,
Only
But that's
like 12.
Exactly, it's
Americans
not that
flew it,
many.
So.
Oh, there were
Sorry,
only
North American.
Yeah, North Americans. There's obviously some from like Australia, whatever. Like I think Yap was there too. But like Hong Kong, Taiwan are obviously,
Yeah.
Singapore, Philippines, right? And then, Malaysia. I'm sure those are the players that really showed up for Ascent Taipei. That's insane. To me, I'm like, this game is
Wow.
insane, right? Like,
Wow.
and this is before we activate Japan. Japan has not been activated on Grand Archive yet.
They gotta break through that audience.
But imagine if Japan's activated, that could be 1,000 people Ascent.
But on Twitter, I'm seeing the Japanese crowd really liking the game too.
Yeah.
Like this is super cool. They look at the CSRs and like, this is so beautiful. Like, I think Grand Archive is really like taking the world by storm right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we just found out today, or we noticed today, that on TCG Player, they're listing Grand Archive under popular games. We're like, we made it.
Yeah. All right.
We made it, boys.
The sales data reflect that too. Like my
Okay.
store, my personal store sales on Grand Archive has just been like skyrocketing. Like
Woo.
before, I would do, I think on a weekly basis, if I sold, let's say 100 Magic cards, I would sell like 1 or 2 Grand Archive cards. Nowadays, I mean, we're getting close to like 20 to 30,
Okay.
right?
So if we can say we're 1/5 of the size of Magic, that's pretty.
And I'm not listing like there's a lot of cards I'm not listing for Grand Archive, right? Like out of my store of like almost 4,000 listings, like I would say like 200 are Grand Archive. So if you think about that proportionate ratio, Grand Archive is disproportionately being bought right now, right? So it's the game is definitely growing. I can just tell you because sales data tell me.
What kind of areas are you selling to mostly?
Everywhere. I think I'm just shipping like Florida, New York. So I'll San Jose. I sold a bunch of cards in San
There's
Jose.
so many players in South Bay.
The funny, I almost want to message like, okay, so who are you? And will I see you at locals next week? Can I just give you
Probably.
the card, right?
Probably.
But I'm not even doing that because I can't. I don't have time to show up nowadays, right? So I just ship the cards. It's fine. It's San Jose, Walnut Creek, like local to us, obviously. But there are a ton of cards going to like Minnesota.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say all over the country, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, a ton of players in Texas. Yeah, so
Good.
these are cards going everywhere.
I'm actually seeing that trend too because I've been like stalking Google Trends.
Yeah.
What?
Like just to see how often Grand Archive gets searched, and it can also search by locality. And I think there are like a lot of hotspots in the Midwest.
Oh, cool.
Where consistently like number one is
Rhode
like
Island.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
like really randomly.
Shout out
I
to
don't
the
know.
Rhode Islanders.
I don't know exactly how the magics work, but yeah, there are definitely really interesting pockets of GA communities across North America.
Guys, California, we got to search for Grand Archive more. Get our stats up.
We don't need a Google Grand Archive. We can just ask our
We
friends.
know about it. Yeah.
We just go into the store and ask.
That's right. Yeah. So from different perspectives, I can see definitely, it's definitely growing.
Yeah. Like if we want to take Magitech games as a case study, it's kind of interesting. So I think the store opened during FTC or late DOA.
Yeah.
So around that time, we were averaging like 6 to 8 players.
6 to 8.
6 to 8 players.
Oh, wow.
And then on a bad day, when during like the least enthusiastic days, times of the season, it was like 4 maybe. Wow. And then when ALC came out, I think we were averaging 12 players at our locals.
Okay.
And then near the end of ALC, 17, 18 players, which we thought was already like huge
that's
growth.
already amazing.
That's already amazing. That's already awesome.
Yeah.
And then MRC comes out. Now where are we at? Last week was like 26, 27 players. This week, 28 players. It's crazy. We're like having a mini regional every week on Wednesdays. I do think part of it is because we were lucky enough to have the Grand Archive Academy. So it's the official Grand Archive Learn to Play program that they just did like a pilot on. So they started out with just 3 to 4 regions.
Okay.
Luckily, they picked Northern California, NorCal, as one of the pilot regions to try out. And then they picked a few stores where on demand for about 4 weeks, 1 day a week, you could come in for an on-demand demo between like whatever hours they set.
Yeah.
New players would get to keep the demo deck as well as get this 6 Alchemical Revolution booster packs.
Dude, those are
What?
expensive.
At a time when
Wait, hold on.
ALC was sold out, the incentives were insane. It's over now. It ended.
Hold on.
I think it was during
Can I go?
it was during
So
April
they
and
gave.
May.
Wait, is
That's
this
basically
free?
paying you to,
Is
like
this
24
free?
bucks to just
Hold
like
on.
show
Is
up.
this
Yeah.
free?
Yeah, it's free. You just walk in. You ask
hand-
for a demo.
they hand them
you get
$34.
6
They bribe
booster
they
packs.
bribe the players.
It's
basically.
$34, not
It's-
including the demo decks.
That's insanely generous.
It's
insanely generous,
so generous.
Yeah.
It's Yeah, and not just that, the incentives get even crazier.
Yeah.
If you refer someone to come in, you yourself get 3 booster packs. So if
Dang.
How come I didn't know about this
This
program?
is like a pyramid
Where have
scheme
you
of like
been?
getting your
I could
friends
have
at the gym.
pyramid
No, it's
schemed
actually-
myself to like cases of ALC, you know?
Yeah, no, but actually though, like our whole community showed up and brought all their friends.
That's awesome.
We had, I say we, even though I wasn't one of the official teachers, I did show up to help out because we did not think it would get that busy. It was crazy. There was such a constant stream of people that they were like, or they didn't really ask if other people would come in, but people like me just came in to hang out and then we would end up helping teach as
Wow,
well.
that's
They
awesome.
had 3 official teachers.
Okay.
But anyway, for all 4 weeks, they had 20 to 25 people every week, which
Wow.
is, it's a lot.
So
I need to know,
that's why you
was-
guys
was-
have like 30 people now per event from like all
boosted.
those people from those
Yeah,
play events.
yeah. We do.
Did a lot of those players, so to his question, did a lot of those players get retained?
We do have a handful of people that are from that are Grand Archive Academy graduates.
But so like you told me one element of growth, right? So obviously this academy program, but what else? Like what other elements of like Grand Archive? I mean, this growth is kind of, I would say it's surprising to me. I didn't actually think it would grow like this. Honestly.
It kind of feels like it came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, let me ask you, because you started when in the beginning with Fab, right? Were you there
Long time ago.
right with the start of Fab, right?
Yes.
And in
It's like Flesh and Blood for those who
Flesh
are
and Blood,
not,
yeah.
who are not familiar.
And now it's like a very popular game now.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, was it very popular in its first year?
No. Fab was really tough. I know a lot of stores that dropped Fab.
So would you say Grand Archive compared to Flesh and Blood is doing better in its same
Way better.
equivalent time?
Way better. Way
Whoa.
better.
Wow.
I think
That's
number one is obviously the game itself. I mean, again, it attracts different audiences, but yeah, and also Fab, I would say is a very difficult game.
Oh,
So
yeah.
a lot of players, I think, like felt really discouraged because minute mistakes in Fab really shows. And I would say like Grand Archive is really good at building community events. And I think this is because of the people. Like, because
I
of this
agree.
community that Grand Archive attracts, that community is also really like has a lot of group community building experience already. So
Totally.
it's kind of just almost like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You get this group to like Grand Archive, they're going to attract more people faster. Yeah, it should snowball faster.
Yeah.
Like everyone's telling all their friends about Grand Archive. I mean, that's kind of what we did too when we got into
sure.
GA. Is we introduced it to all of
Yes.
our like local
Induct them
singing
into the cult.
Taipei community friends. Now
Yeah.
everyone plays Grand Archive. Everyone's doing that. It's everyone like brings all like they invite their significant others just to come to locals to hang out. Just it's become kind of a social gathering here in NorCal at least. I don't know what the culture is like elsewhere, but here there's a really strong social culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just like have parties with GA.
Pretty much. It just feels like we show up to like, oh, who's gonna bring boba this week? Or who's gonna bring pizza this week? Who's gonna buy boba this week?
Yeah, there's a lot of good things I think just happening everywhere, and I think players are like, I think one of my patrons like been going to hit their local store every day, asking, or every week whenever they go to play, asking the owner to take Grand Archive, like start doing the events, and the owner's like very cautious because of the artwork. And I think the artwork is like it's really interesting, right? So like I say this to you guys, and you're like, well, that's why we play GA. Like the artwork's very
I see the angle you're going for.
yeah, but this is, I mean, and we had this same issue at VPC, right? I was like, hey, we should put the promo poster for MRC up because we actually didn't do it for ALC with the Diana, and I mean,
this is with the Tristan poster.
yeah, and I heard the reason we can't put it up is because, well, it doesn't fit with the theme of the cafe.
It's
And
not
there's kids.
family friendly
It's not
enough for the
friendly.
cafe.
And it's like so
Maybe it's
literally
a-
the
yeah.
store owner is like, well, at the 2 points, right? Number one, artwork, but number two, also the name. Like Weeps the short, like this is a joke company, right? Like they can't. They're like, I've actually had one YouTuber who's been a sub for a long time, literally made a comment recently on one of my Grand Archive video, which I don't really do a lot on my main channel. It's more Magic focused. Who said, "I'm sorry, you're supporting a dead game. I'll see you in a year."
I've seen some of those comments
Yeah.
too, and I honestly think it's because they're invested in other games and actively want to see any competing game fail.
There's a little bit of that. I think there's also the element of like, I think it's people are afraid of what they don't understand, right? Like I like Grand Archive because I think the gameplay is really strong,
Yeah.
right? I think some people like Grand Archive because the artwork's really strong. I think some people like Grand Archive because the collectability is really strong.
or all of the above.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like Grand Archive there's something for everyone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not true for a lot of games.
Not to mention the OP is like the best OP of any TCG I've seen.
Yeah.
Organized play.
Organized
Sorry.
play, yeah.
Sorry.
I'm gonna say all the proper names of
Thanks.
all
When you
your
say OP nowadays, I
acronyms.
keep thinking One Piece.
Or overpower, One
Yeah.
Piece,
Yeah.
yeah, organized play.
Yeah.
But the Ascent events are like unbelievably fun, I think. Like we went to Grand Prix pre-COVID.
Yeah.
That's when like, the glory days of Magic.
Uh-huh.
And then we went to MXP Oakland recently. Those do not compare to Ascents.
Yeah.
Ascents is like, normally when you go to an MTG event, you can expect to play in the tournament, maybe a side event, win some tickets, go to the prize wall.
Yeah.
That's it. There's artists there you can visit too. Ascents have all that.
Yeah.
Plus like special events.
There's an
plus,
award
like,
ceremony.
Like they have like a special presentation.
keynote with the lead game designer of the game.
Yeah. They're just around.
Yeah. And I mean at Worlds there was cosplay.
Yeah.
It's just on a different level, I think.
The amount of like work, effort put into the streams to make it look, it's a burgeoning game. This is not a game that has like a ton of funding already that can just, here's like 200 grand, go run a great event. Like it's not quite there yet, right? There's a lot of things that people are kind of just like, honestly, community built, right? I heard also like some players are not happy with like other card games now too. So there's some draw there too with other, like potentially players moving from other card games into Grand Archive.
Yeah, we do have some players. We've taken some refugees from Yu-Gi-Oh recently.
Oh yeah.
And then
are they not happy with how Yu-Gi-Oh is playing right now?
I think they're not too happy with the meta right now. And then also I recently had a conversation with a new player who is very unhappy with the Digimon meta right now. He was just like, there's only 2 playable decks.
Yeah.
And the deck is as if you can play Dungeon Guide and then draw 2 cards.
I think there's not only like dissatisfaction with the metas of other games, they like other games, they actively hate the company that is like building the games. Like people like always ragging on Konami, always ragging on Wizards of the Coast.
Bushiroad.
Bushiroad.
Nobody gets,
They have major like corporate cynical just make as much money vibes, where it's like you can't really direct that kind of like resentment towards Weeps of the Shore because they're clearly just like a bunch of really passionate like guys trying to make the best game they can.
And that's the key, right? Like, yes, is it perfect? No. But what I see is a lot of trying and pushing the game in the right direction and listen to feedback. And those 3 things, just think about it. That's the loop that gets you to be better every day. And I don't see that in other card games.
Yeah,
Period.
Eva, you were just talking about giving anybody who shows up 6 packs just for coming. Like,
Crazy.
what mainstream game would ever do that?
And for a set that was sold out, well, I don't know if it's sold out everywhere, but it was sold out in NorCal at that time. So it was really great incentives.
I talked to Magitech, right? I was like, you guys are sold out of MRC, right? And I was told, while they're sold out of MRC, they have MRC in the back. They're literally not selling it because they're using it for price support. That's the kind of like, think about it, like if I was a store, they're like, okay, well, gotta like make money, right? You sell the MRC. But no, instead they're using it for price support, like holding inventory back intentionally so that the game can last through the season until the next set release. Because you don't want players show up and be like, well, the rewards are dry. I'm not gonna play this game anymore. To have people continue to feel like they're rewarded for playing the game, for winning, the stores are sacrificing profitability actually to make that happen. So that's really commendable. Yeah. It's a long podcast, but if you guys are okay with it, we do have one viewer question.
Yes.
Hey,
I feel like we're obligated to answer these things.
Let's do it.
It's been a long time since the last episode.
That's right, yeah. So basically, if you want to have questions for TalkGA, you can tweet at us on Twitter at TalkGA_podcast. And just make sure add a hashtag TalkGA into the question. That way I can go find that easily. Or you can also comment on this video, hashtag TalkGA, same thing, and then start with your question. But our viewer question for this week is from Soju-chan. Soju-chan asks, TalkGA, first of all, quick shout out to Eva for making that word/cheat sheet. It's exactly what I was looking for after picking up the game last month at a con.
Yay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
At a con too, not just from the internet or whatever, right? My question for you guys is, what other forms of media and collab do you guys think that GA/Weebs of the Shore should attempt to tackle in the future to expand not only the TCG game, but the overall unique lore story that they have their characters and the cards. Like be it like cinematic trailers, maybe manga, comic books, novels, web series, music video, etc. Things of that nature, small flavor stuff to add more to the story or to the lore of TCG games to those that are more interested in the side of things, but while still being a fan of the TCG itself. Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, I think we can probably expect more lore and fun things to come out because they recently introduced Belle, who's their new creative lead. She's been doing a lot of the lore writing and naming of cards, flavor text of cards. She seems like super enthusiastic about the story and all the characters. I love her. I love her to death. So I'm excited to see what else they put out. And I think comics would be a great next step just because it's kind of like it's I don't want to say it compared to other things like making cinematic trailers and novels, it is on the lower effort side. It'd be so fun. Like everyone's dying to see the characters interact more. Everyone wants to see like Sylvie and Lorraine being the best friends that they are advertised to be. I think that'd be cute. Add a little spice.
What do you think,
How about you guys?
Yeah, something along those lines. They could do like shorts for like each of the champions like backstory. In Magic, they have basically like kind of like motion graphic type video that like goes over like the past, their personal motivations. Like, if you see like, oh, my kingdom was under fire, but now I've been summoned by the Grand Archive to do whatever important task or something like that. A la like Fate Stay Night style background.
So you think like a animated short? Is that what you're saying, or
I gotta go. Like, basically like the Genshin trailers.
But not that like
Genshin. So
complicated.
Well, because Genshin always releases two types of trailers for each new character, right? They have like the story one, which is kind of motion graphics, and it's like pretty voice acting and them interacting with other characters and like explains what their motivations are, and then the more elaborate gameplay cinematic trailer. But I think the first kind, which is just like kind of going over their backstory, is like
that's still animation. That's like hella expensive.
Hey, the question didn't ask about
budget
limits. Okay,
we're fine.
So we don't have to answer realistically, is what you're saying.
Hey, look, there's always more booster boxes, so it's fine.
It's true. Well, they need to print more booster boxes to sell for.
What I was told wasn't there like a Kickstarter anime comic book or something? Yes.
Don't know.
I'm not wrong on this. I'm pretty sure there was a talk of a manga or something from Kickstarter. I don't know if it was like a goal that we never met. Maybe that was 1 million, and we never actually quite hit 1 million.
Okay.
Yeah, a webtoon would be pretty good too. Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah. You stole mine. That's mine was webtoon. Like I'm an avid enjoyer of webtoon. I've been on the webtoon platform since like 7 years ago. That's where I would love to see this. And then like on your point, I really agree with that. I think character development is what I love. But unlike Magic, where your deck doesn't always have a planeswalker, every single GA deck must start with a champion. And that is your champion. And don't you want to know more about your champion's motivations? Like why they do the things they do, why this sword matters, why, for example, like Mordred can banish like action cards for floating memory. Like make that lore element, card game element into a lore element, right? Why Lorraine can exchange swords? What is Ascension? What does it mean? What is she doing that's allowing the swords to just swap, right?
What does it mean to ascend?
Sure, but there's like a lot of these other like lore element that I think if we can marry the card game with the real right, I think that would be really cool.
If we're talking about budget, they could do
or infinite budget.
If we're talking about let's say we want to do a low budget, we do the ASMR drama CD with spoken dialogue.
Oh, like they're reading the story out to you?
No, like it's like a drama. So like it's a dialogue. It's a dialogue between different characters.
No.
TalkGA,
No.
TalkGA. It's actually just TalkGA.
No.
But we just we voice act like characters. Is that what you're saying, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have like the romance drama CD.
Oh my, Gildas and Mordred?
Yep.
Guarded Dissipation. Okay, yeah.
Guarded Dissipation.
Yep. There was another idea I had for like what weebs can do. Oh, that's right. So I'm a big fan of like the stories of the community building into the game. So Magic, whenever there's a champion, right? They get to design a card. They are made into a card that's permanently in Magic. Like there's cards. Yeah, like for example, there's a card called Bob, and like every Magic player knows what that card is. The card is not called Bob. There's no part of the card that's also Bob. It's called Bob because that's the person who won the world championship who's able to get their face essentially on the card.
So we should get a Glenn?
Exactly.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Like imagine you're playing, you're like, I'm gonna play Glenn, right?
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I think we could go heavier, right? So yes, having a card is cool, but like imagine, like remember, there's a backstory to Grand Archive, right? And there's this whole struggle of like, of Grand Archive, right? And rescuing different like fractured planes, whatever, right? What if
stopping the apocalypse?
Yeah, what if every Ascent major event changes the lore, changes potentially even future cards that are representative of what happened last Ascent?
This is based on that other game you were like,
Yes.
the Five Rings.
You know about it, yeah,
Yeah.
LTR. So yeah, Legend of the Five Rings did this thing where basically people showed up to events, not necessarily because they want to win prize cards, but because they want to see their nation win. So they would represent, like, we're the Sylvie players, right? We're going to make sure Sylvie top 8s, because if Sylvie top 8s, that means that Sylvie's storyline progresses.
Got it. So you want to make it so that Merlin kills Rai in the next lore
Sure.
update?
Sure. Or some random shit happens, right? And we don't know what happens, but it's based on what actually happens in the game, right? Imagine like, oh, now Tristan's the big bad. What did Tristan do? Tristan assassinated Sylvie. Like, and then there's a whole thing,
Yeah,
right?
pick your own adventure.
Yeah.
I guess. I see your point. That's
Yeah.
kind of fun to get invested in that
You don't like
storyline and stuff. But it also means that they're making shit up on the spot, which means the storytelling will be less cohesive.
All you have to do, by the way, you don't have to like change everything. You can just do one card that references it. Like for example,
Oh, like a Slay the King?
just exactly, like just to Slay the King.
Oh, alt art version of Slay the King, but Lorraine is replaced, or not Lorraine, Uther is replaced with Rai?
Something like
Merlin kills Rai because
whatever
of
it is.
the
Yeah, you're
world's outcome.
really on this Rai death thing. But yes, basically.
It's Sean and Glenn.
I know, but it's like exactly. So you could do something like that, or you can do a different card where it's like, for example, like, who's to say like Stifling Trap or whatever couldn't have a different artwork, and it's still the same card. Everything functions the same, but the artwork is like, if you know. You look at it, you're like, that's what happened at Ascent Taipei.
I really
That's
like
fun.
the idea of commemorative versions of cards for that honor like a really great player or something like that.
And then like imagine the new players that join, and they're not just joining a card game, they're joining a storyline that's in progress that they are contributing to, right? Like we could just like take out like 4 or 5 cards, be like, so this is what happened at Ascent Ontario, this is Houston, and then of course the team Merlin came back at Ascent Taipei, and like that's not what happened, but I'm just saying, like, imagine this storyline you could tell new players. They're sitting there like, wow, like it's not just like a thing that people know, they're memorializing the cards. That's
Wow,
insane.
it's real life lore.
So I'm so down, dude.
Could be
I like
cool.
it. Anyways, this is my thing.
That's actually a fun idea.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool.
Okay, cool. All right, I think we're gonna wrap for that
We're
video.
so over time.
a lot of time.
Can I give a quick shout out to
Of course.
Kevin, the awesome artist who drew us
Yes.
this amazing illustration. Thank you so much,
Everyone's
Kevin.
perfectly in character. That is the spitting image of Mark right there.
Yep. Yeah, like I need to lose another 40 pounds. But yeah, we're getting there. I'm like this. Oh, I'll lose more weight. Yep. Yeah, but thank you so much, Kevin.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is amazing, and permanent addition to our set. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Cool. All right, with that, that's gonna be it for our podcast for this time, and we'll see you next time. Stay classy.
Stay classy.
I'm back in. I gotta get back into
Do,
IF.
do.
So bad.
Do.
You guys ready? You
You
guys ready? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you?
The intro song.
It's the
song.
BGM we always use.
Yeah.
Definitely did not have that kind of really heart like hitting bass and whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's like there's a part where the drum comes in.
And there's a dance break. And then Taeyong comes in.
I thought it was just like wah, 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 wah. Like it's super chill,
Yeah,
right?
it is, but
You
then
guys are
there's-
like boom. What the? It's not beatboxing.